Thursday's edition of Cracking the Cryptic, where I'm in a good mood today, although slightly nervous, because this puzzle on screen is by none other than Phistomefel. It's a puzzle called Greedy Cages, and I need to get on and do this actually because I've seen that Phistomefel has released another puzzle, so I'm behind on my Phistomefels, and there is no greater crime basically in the world of Sudoku than being behind on your Phistomefels. And you know, I should be in top form on Phistomefel, I have to say, because I've spent the last 2 days hinting Phistomefel puzzles for our upcoming Domino Sudoku app, and they were all fabulous. Not easy puzzles, that is true, but they are all fabulous. So I think I might know how the great man's mind works. Well, better than usual anyway, but we'll see. Actually, I might do a bit, because I read the rules of this one last night when I knew it was going to be coming up today, and I've had a thought about it, which I hope will help me solve it. But I'll run you through the somewhat unusual rules in a moment. This puzzle has a 100% approval rating on Logic Masters Germany, and you've guessed it, 5 stars out of 5 for difficulty, so I'm suggesting this is probably going to be a long video, and I apologise for taking so much of your time if that turns out to be the case. Now, before we kick off though, and I read you the rules, I need to say hearty congratulations today to Tom and Ruhina over in Vancouver, Canada, where I believe today is your wedding day. Now, your friend Erica Sullivan got in touch and said that you both watch the channel. I think, Tom, you found it first, and well, we're delighted to hear that, and we wish you all the very best on this special day for you, and hope it goes swimmingly. Other than that, I don't have much news. Just a reminder, if you are attempting our Patreon reward for May, you've still got 1 week to get your answers over to us. We have had way over, I think we're heading on for 2,000 correct entries to that hunt so far, and it's an equal sum lines hunt. So if you enjoy that puzzle type, and I have to say it's one of my favourites, then you can check that out on Patreon right now. It's a couple of bucks a month, and yeah, we think less than a pint of beer is pretty good value. And thanks, of course, to all those of you who support us over there. Now let's get on with Greedy Cages by Phistomefel. I will read you the rules. They are as follows. Normal Sudoku rules apply. Clues in the top left corner of a cage. No, clues in the top left corner of a cell. You can tell what rules I usually read. Clues in the top left corner of a cell mean that that cell is part of a cage whose digits sum to that clue's value. So that's saying that that 18 is part of a cage that sums to 18. But what we don't know is what that cage looks like. A cage is an orthogonally connected set of cells in which no digit may repeat, so normal so far. Each cage contains exactly one given clue, and cages do not overlap. So each of these clues is part of a distinct cage, and what we can't do is if we said that was a 7 cage there, we can't overlap the 20 cage. Oh, sorry, the 40 cage. That would be impermissible. So don't do that. It's too naughty for words. Now, if a clue is a question mark, now I think there's only one of those, it is unclear how large the sum of the respective cage is. Okay, that's what I would have concluded myself had that rule not been in there. Now, this is the bit of the rules that I think is an absolute mind blower. The cages are greedy, i.e., digits in a cage cannot appear in any orthogonally adjacent cells or cages. So, I think what that is saying is that, let's say this 25 cage was that shape and the 18 cage was this shape. I think what that is saying is that it's not possible for any digit that appears in the 18 cage to appear in the 25 cage. And more than that, it's also saying that that cell, for example, would not be able to be in either of those cages. Because if that cage, if this digit's a 1, and let me just read the rules again. Is that what it's saying? Digits in a cage cannot appear in any orthogonally adjacent cells. No, that is what it's saying. So even though this might not be in a cage, it still cannot be in this cage or this cage. So it's a weird restriction. It really is. I suspect that not much of this grid will be covered by cages in the end, because this restriction is so dramatic. And I have had a thought as well about the 40 cage, but I will tell you about that in a moment or two. Anyway, do have a go. There is literally no better puzzle constructor out there for you to try variant Sudoku on. So do have a go at this. The way to play is to click the link under the video as usual. And now I get to play. Let's get cracking. And actually, before I start on my 40 cage idea, I'm just going to have a think. I think about this, because this looks very deliberate, doesn't it? These runs of 757s. It looks like this could be where Phistomefel has designed the break-in. So let me think about that. So this... But the problem is there's nothing saying a cage has to, or a clue has to be more than one digit, is there? Hang on. Well, it says a cage is an orthogonally connected set of cells. I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't think I'm confident enough to assume that this needs to be multiple cells. And the problem with it not being able to be multiple cells is what's the problem with that as an arrangement of this 7 and this 5? I suppose then that 7 would have to be 2 digits or 3 digits, I suppose, and this would have to be 2 digits because it couldn't be a lone 5. But there's no reason that this 5 would have to hit this 7, is there? No, there isn't. So that could be a 2, 3, and that could be a 1, 6, like that. And these wouldn't see each other because they don't touch orthogonally. So there's no restriction. Right, so this is not propitious, I'm going to claim now. I think we probably have to do something else. Now, what I want to talk about is this thought I had last night when I read the rules to this. I was thinking about a big cage, and I think it's very, very hard to put a big cage in this puzzle. And that's because any big cage, well, no, I mean, the genesis of the thought I had was a 40 cage has to have at least 7 cells in it, but it could have as many as 8. And that's sort of derivable either in a very long way or a very short way if you know the secret. Now, if you don't know the secret, where have you been? But I do tell the secret to my favourite people, and if you're watching this video, of course you're one of those people. Now, the secret is that any complete box, any complete column, any complete row of a Sudoku has the digits 1 to 9 in it once each because of the rules of Sudoku. And if you add up those digits, you get the number 45. So a 40 cage has an awful lot of the digits 1 to 9 in it. It's missing digits that sum to 5. So it's either missing just a 5, or it's missing 2 digits that sum to 5, which will have to be 1, 4 or 2, 3. One of those 3 things must be true. It cannot be missing 3 digits, because the minimum 3 digits it could be missing would be 1 plus 2 plus 3, and because we know all 9 digits add to 45, if we take 6 off 45 we get 39, and last time I checked 40 is greater than 39, so that's impossible. So, but how could this be missing 1 digit? That's my question. If this is missing 1 digit and we make a cage that's 8 cells large, what is that telling us about every orthogonally connected cell with this cage? What digit do we have to put into all of these cells? And I think the answer to that is that they all have to be, and this is not going to work, they all have to be the digit 5, because if they weren't, if we try and put a 9 in, or an 8 in here, a 9, if we put a 9 in here, we know the 40 cage contains a 9, so that's breaking the rules of the puzzle. The only thing we're allowed to orthogonally connect with the 40 cage is the digits that are not in the 40 cage. So if we have an 8-cell cage, we have to surround it with 5s, and we're going to have a big problem with the rules of Sudoku if we do that. So this is not right. This is not the way we need to go. What we need to do, therefore, is we need to miss out 2 digits from the 40 cage to give us some flexibility. But this is where my thinking stopped on this, because that feels to me incredibly hard. Because if you can only miss out, if you can only miss 2 digits out from this 40 cage, you can only create like 2-cell segments along the boundary. Because if I make that the format of this cage, it's broken in column 3. Because column 3, let's say this is missing 1s and 4s. So 1s and 4s have to be all on the boundary. In fact, it's broken here as well, look. Because you'd have to put 1 and 4 into the 3 cells here. That won't work. You'd have to put 1 and 4 into those 3 cells there, and you're going to have a repeat in box 2. And in fact, in box 5. So this is where I'm now starting to worry that I've misunderstood this, because how can you construct a shape that is 7 cells large, that has a maximum boundary length of 2? And I realise that's a rhetorical question. But if you pop up here into box 2, you see this is really tricky, because what's the next cell you go into in either box 2 or over here? Well, if you stay in box 2, haven't we automatically got a problem now? Because if I take 1 more digit, I've now got 3 orthogonally connected cells, which I can't have in the same box. If I start taking... Actually, this is okay. What we've left behind is okay, because all of those digits could be 1s and 4s without repeating a digit. But that means we've got to fill this... I've got to fill this box in such a way that there are not more than 2 orthogonally connected cells with the shape. And you can see it gets really tricky. So this column is okay at the moment. Okay, maybe I can do this. No, I can't. No, now it's horrible. I've got 4 orthogonal connections in box 2. I need to get rid of some of these. I can have a maximum... can I take that one? Yes, I think I can take this one, because this one's... Oh, no, I can't. That's got no fill. Oh, no, this is horrible. So this one has to be left out. I've got to get rid of 2 of these 4 orthogonal connections. And I can't get rid of this one, because that's going to create a line of 3 there. So this is out, and this is out. So I have to get rid of these 2, so they have to be filled. But now I've got 3 orthogonal connections. So, can I use the top of the grid to my advantage? Maybe that's what you meant. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, I've made it too big now. This doesn't work, does it? And it's broken in this column again. So how on earth do you do this? Yeah, and this is the challenge, I think. I think there is something meta that we're meant to appreciate about how this 40 cage can exist. And it's quite difficult, actually. It's quite difficult. It's got to be 7 cells. What I can't do is, maybe this is a better way of approaching it. How many cells of the 40 cage are in box 5? Because if it's only 2, the puzzle's broken, because there will be 3 orthogonal connections. Now, if it's 3, the puzzle's broken, because wherever I put this third one, there are 3 orthogonal connections in the same box, so it's not only 3. Now, if it's maybe if it's 4 like that. No, that's worse. That's worse. I've got 4 orthogonal connections. Hang on. No, this is horrible. I need to put many more cells to get. I've got too many orthogonal connections again. Because remember, I can only have 2 orthogonal connections in the same sudoku unit, either box, row and column. So even this is, well, I'd have to disturb this, otherwise this is broken. Right, let's try 5. If we have 5 and we try and keep the lengths along the sides to a minimum, which is impossible because that's automatically going to break, and I've got far too many orthogonal connections. Right, 6, and I want to break this up. So like that. Well, it doesn't work. Yeah, I can't. I keep however many I leave behind in the in box 5. Ah, that works. That works. Right, that's interesting. That's only got 2 on every side of it, look. And in the box, it's only got 2. Wow, is this the only way that this works? That's the question. At least I found one way it works. Now hang on, let's try and transpose that shape. Let me just try and move that. So that's sort of a, if we did that. That's weird, isn't it? No, it just immediately breaks again because that's got 3 digits in the same box, which I can't do. Yes, oh well, and indeed I've left 2 behind in the 40 cage, which I'm not allowed to do. So I think I'm happy to say now that if we don't leave 1 digit, so if there is more than 1 digit in this 40 cage in box 5, then there must be all 7 digits in the 40 cage, and it must look like that, because there was no other way I could see that we were going to only leave 2 cells orthogonally connected in box 5 itself, without, and also of course 2 around the borders. This is it almost feels like this is the right answer. But what I'm not quite sure about is whether if this goes up here, no, hang on, can't I just apply the lot? Right, maybe this is the way to think about it. If we go up into this box, we can think of this box now as if it was box 5 again. And we have to ask the question, how do we avoid having too many orthogonal connections now in this box? Now, the slight rinky-dink here is that the edge of the grid might save us, because the top edge, if we go into row 0, there are no orthogonal connections to be had up there. So I think the question we've got to ask, and it will be the same for if we venture into this box, is can we somehow construct a shape here which is going to be at least, or a maximum of 6 cells that doesn't leave the wrong number of connections? And for that to work, we either have to have 1 cell in here, which is just going to transpose the problem here once I transfer over here. So you can see that at this point, these 2 are working. There's not going to be any repeats in those outlined blue digits. But all we're doing is transposing the problem to here, where we've got to put five cells in. And if we did it like that, for example, now you can see we've got 3 orthogonal connections, as well as trapping in the 25 and the 18. And we can't have 3 orthogonal connections. So I think what we've got to do is figure out whether if we come into either this box or this box, probably this box, because this has got too many other things in it, can we construct a shape that only has 2? It's already difficult, isn't it? Because you can't take this cell now, because that's going to create a string there. I suppose you could take that if you took that, and that's okay in box 1. It's okay here. It's okay there. So, okay, that might work. And we've got 1, 2. This is broken at the moment, so we need to fix that. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm sure there's an elegant way of proving this as well, but unfortunately, doing this on live solving, I'm very unlikely to alight upon it. So I need to. I've got 1, 2. I've got 5. I've got 3 more things to put in, and I must. So what about doing those? No, this is horrible. It's impossible. I'm going to just allege it's impossible. How on earth can I add 3 more cells to box 2 and only leave 2 orthogonal connections to that to whatever I make purple? It's not going to work. I must take the top digit, because that at least gives me a get out in row 0. This is now broken. I can't correct. No, so I can't take this one. It just doesn't work. So maybe those 2 then. 1, 2, 3, 4. But I've got so many. No, it's just nonsense. This is just. It's just impossible. There is no way. There is no way to do this, because by partially filling a box with purples, you get too many orthogonally connected cells, and we're only going to be allowed to have 2 in box 2, and it won't work. It won't work. So I'm going to go back to this, which I believe is the only way that you can create a greedy 40 cage. And this might be why this clue's sort of. Yeah, this feels like the sort of thing Phistomefel might have discovered in his doodlings. I'd love to see Phistomefel's sort of working papers for these puzzles. But if you discover this, you'd probably start with it, wouldn't you? Now, and the rather nice thing and pretty thing about this is that this 40 cage is missing 2 digits that sum to 5, and every orthogonally connected cell to this 40 cage, therefore, has to be a number below 5, because it must be either a 2, 3 or a 1, 4. And that means we can probably colour these digits, I'm thinking. Yes, I can. Yeah, okay, so whatever this is not. So we could do something like this. And then this would be blue, and this would have to be orange, and this would be blue, and this would be orange, and this would be blue, and this would be orange, and that's therefore blue, and this would be orange. And now, well, yeah, this looks very interesting, doesn't it? Because now things like this and this, and even the 7s, I think, are getting, they're at least affected by the orangification and bluification of the grid. Let me just think about this for a second or two. Do we know anything else? We know the 40 cage is missing 2 digits. Those digits are the blue and the orange digits. Now, my first question is, these fives, can they take a blue or an orange digit as part of their cage? You know, I don't think that's possible, is it? Because obviously these two digits, we know that orange and blue add to 5. So if this was, well, it couldn't be blue because blue's already appeared there. So it would have to be orange, and that repeats orange in the box. The same is true here. Yes, in fact, it's simpler to see here. This cell sees. No, it's easy to see there. This cell sees orange and blue, so it can't be orange or blue. So it would have to be, if it was a 2-cell 5, it would have to be the version of 5 that is in the 40 cage. But yes, and the same is true here actually. This sees both. So this, right, okay, so one of these is a 5. That's what I'm concluding now. One of these is a 5 because they can't both be the 2-cell sequence for 5 that's in the 40 cage. So perhaps the best way to see this, imagine this was a 1-4 pair. The effect of that would be that this would be a 1-4 pair like this. Now how are we going to make these 5s work? These 5s can't be a 1-4 pair anymore, clearly, because neither of them can be a 1 or a 4. So they have to be either a 2-3 pair or a 5. Now, if we make this a 2-3 pair, or this a 2-3 pair, the other one clearly cannot be a 2-3 pair. So these two digits have to be from 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. These we don't know what they are yet. And one of these is part of a 2-cell domino that adds to 5. Which, right, okay, so this might be the trick. Row 6, therefore, has a virtual quintuple in it on 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, because there's 4 of those 5 digits, and we know that one of these 5s is a domino, a horizontal domino, completing the set. So that digit has to be at least a 6, and that's part of a 10 cage. I don't know quite whether we can do something with that. No, okay. These digits have to be high as well. But they're in the 40 cage, and the 40 cage has sort of been isolated, hasn't it? COVID style, or in a slightly draconian way. It's been penned in by these orange and blue digits. So one of these adds to 5 in a way that's consistent with the way what the 40 cage has got in it. And one of them is a 5. The 7. Yeah, that's interesting. Let's don't know if it matters which way round this goes, but let's imagine this was a domino that added to 5. Then we know that this domino adding to 5 is different from orange and blue, which means that this little L tetromino contains the digits 1 to 4. Now, this, therefore, what is this? Now, I was about to say that it could not contain any of the digits 1 to 4. So would it have to be a 7? But I'm not sure that's true. Because could it be a 3-cell sum adding to 7? If it's a 3-cell sum adding to 7, it's got 1, 2 and 4 in it. But it obviously can't take the digit. Oh, okay, right, sorry, no, it's a very simple deduction, and I'm being very, very slow. In this arrangement where this domino touches the 7, so we have the L tetromino with 1, 2, 3 and 4 in it. This is not a 3-cell sum to 7, because if it was, it would have to contain a digit that was in this 5 cage, because whether this 5 cage is 2, 3 or 1, 4, it's clearly got one of the 3 digits, or even 2 of the 3 digits necessary in the 1, 2, 4 combination that a 3-cell 7 cage would have. So that's not right. So this would either be a 2-cell sum adding to 7 or just a lone 7. Now, right, and it's a lone 7. It's a lone 7, and this is quite pretty actually. It's a lone 7 because if it was not a lone 7, what would it be? Now, it can't be a 3-4 pair because one of those digits is in the 5 cage, which touches orthogonally the 7 cage, so it's not 3, 4. So it's either 2, 5 or 1, 6. Now, bearing in mind 1, 2, 3 and 4 are here, in order for it to be one of those, it needs to take this digit. It needs to take this digit because it needs a 1, 2, 3 or a 4 in its cage. And it can't get it from here, and it can't reach this because that would require 3 cells. So it's got to take this digit as its low digit, which requires this to be a 1 or a 2. But this, remember, is a 5 or a 6. Now, there is definitely a 5 or a 6 in the 40 cage, because the only digits the 40 cage hasn't got in it are the blue and the orange digits. So it cannot take this digit. And if it tries to do something like this, whoops, not that, but that, then the 2's repeating in the cage. So that's not right. So now, is that logic, the first thing I want to check is that logic symmetrical if this is the 2-cell sequence? Does it apply the same way to this cell? And the answer to that is yes, it does. It does apply the same way. So that means that one of these is a domino. Whichever one it is has a lone 7. Right, so there is a sort of 7-5 X-wing here, is what I'm saying. So if this was the domino, because this would be a 7, we know this would be a 5. Whereas the other way around, if this is the domino, that would be a 7 and this would be a 5. So there's sort of a 7-5 domino going on, or not domino, X-wing going on. But what does that mean? So I suspect what we've got to do is to look at what's on the other side of the X-wing. So on one side of it we've got, if it was this, if this was the domino, we'd have a 7 here and a 5 here. But what's on this side of the X-wing? This can't be a 7. This can't be a 7. And it can't be a 2, 5. Now, it can't be 1, 2, 4, can it? Because isn't that what I disproved over here? Oh. Ooh, actually, wait, let me think about that. Can this one be 1, 2, 4? Because remember, this one isn't constrained in quite the same way. This one being 1, 2, 4 doesn't see a cage with one of those things in it. Now, in fact, I'm just going to put some numbers on this so I can think about it. If this, I think if that was 2 and 3, and I wanted to make this a 1, 2, 4 triple, what's the problem with that, if indeed there is one? So this digit would be a 1 or a 4. We know there's a 1 or a 4 in this cage. So I couldn't take this 2, because if I took the 2 in the 7 cage, I'm connecting this 7 cage with a 40 cage that has the same digit in it. So I have to make my 1, 2 and 4. Oh, I see. So the problem is you can't get this digit from anywhere. Whoa, this is really complicated. This is really complicated. Right, but we almost have to imagine that this 2, 3 is propagated through the world. I'm going to focus on the 2 because the 2 is what's needed for the 7. The 2 would have to go, the 2 would go here and here. Now I've got to put a 2. If I'm making this a 3-cell 7 cage, it needs a 2, and it can't get this one because that's going to repeat. We're going to have two cages orthogonally connected that have the same numbers in them. So it's got to get a 2 from somewhere else. Well, it can't get a 2 from anywhere else because these 2's all rule out all of the relevant cells. Now, I think that logic is symmetrical as well. I think if I switch, I think it's worse in fact. If I switch this round and I make this a 1, 4 pair, and then I say, okay, I'm going to try and make this into a 3-cell 7 cage now, in which case this obviously has to be a 2. It can't touch this or this because we know there's a 2 in the 40 cage now. So it has to get 1 and 4, and yes, it's worse. It is worse. Right, good. So this doesn't work. So this is what we've concluded now, and that logic's symmetrical, isn't it? Yes, that is symmetrical. So it wouldn't matter if the 5 and the 7 were here and here. And we were trying to do this over here. It was the same logic. We've still got the same problem with getting the digit we need. So this has to, right, it can't be 7. So this is a 2-cell sum adding to 7. It's not 2, 5. So it's either 3, 4. 3, 4 or 1, 6. Now I am very sceptical as to whether it can be 3 and 4 because surely it's going to see one of those digits in this. I'm going to have to do this again. Sorry. So if that was 2, 3, 2 or 2, 3, and I try and make this 3, 4, the only way to do that would be to connect the 4 and the 3 together, but we know there's a 4 in there, so that's not allowed, and the only other way to do it would be like that. So this does not work. Right. So the only way this works, I'm going to allege, is if this is part of a 1, 6 pair. Oh, I've got it. Right. This is beautiful. This is really beautiful. It's very difficult, but it is beautiful because now, oh, good grief, I've just seen I've had 38 minutes. No, I still haven't got a... have I got a digit? No, I'm not sure I've got a digit. I think I now know what these are. Because this being a 1, 6, which is force now on one side or another, forces these, whichever one of these is a 1, 6 pair, it's removing the ability of the outside cells, the blues and the oranges, to be 1s and 6, to have a 1 in them. So they must be 2s and 3s, is what I think we're getting to here. So although we don't know, well, I do know that these are from 1, 6 and 7 now, because we know that the 7 is part of a 1, 6 pair, but I now know all of these cells cannot have 1s in them, and therefore they cannot have 4s in them. So these are 2s and 3s, which means this is not a 2 or a 3 because it sees both colours. This is not a 2 or a 3 because it sees both colours. And And now, what do we do? So now we know that this, or this, is a 1-4 pair. I don't think it's this one. I'm not certain about this, but I'm struggling to see how I make that 10 cage work if this is a 1-4 pair. Let me just look at this. If that's a 1-4 pair, this 10 cage can't have a 1 in it, and it can't have a 4 in it, and it can't have a 2 or a 3 in it, because they are looking... No, this is not. This is impossible. This is impossible. If this a 1-4 cage touches this 10 cage and prevents it from having 1s and 4s in it, it can't be 6-4. It can't be 9-1. It can't be 7-2-1. It can't be 8-2 because where's it getting a 2 from? And it can't be 7-3, so it can't be anything. So that's not the 1-4. Right, now I've got digits. So this is the 1-4. Which means that this is not 5. It's not 5, so this unwinds our X-wing, because we now know this has to be the 7. This has to be the 5. This loses its colour. That puts no pressure. This is now a 1 or a 6, and the pressure on the 10 cage has now been relieved a little bit. This square has to be a 6, 7, 8, or 9, doesn't it, by sudoku? So that's not part of the 10 cage either. And this isn't part of the 7 cage either. Oh no, it could be. 1-6 would work. Oh, Simon. Sorry, that's nonsense. What I just said, I was about to say this couldn't be part of the 7 cage, but it absolutely could with this. Although that would... Although that connects a 1 to this 10 cage again. Hang on a minute. I think this 10 cage is under pressure. What is it, is the question. I'm really sceptical it can ever have 8 in it, because if it's got 8 in it, it must be 2-8, and I can't see how it's going to get a 2. So it's not that. Now, is the same thing true of 7? Not quite, because although it definitely can't pick up a 3, it could be 7-2-1. Yeah, right, I see, I understand. Right, the point is not so much about the 10 cage, or it's tangentially about the 10 cage. It's the 7 cage that's important. So we know this 7 cage is a 1-6 pair. And the question is, which direction does it go in? Does it come here, or does it go there? And the answer is neither of those things can be true. Because if it does do either of those things, it touches the 10 cage, prevents there from being a 1 in it, which means that this, and it also prevents there being a 6 in it, because there's definitely a 6 in a 1-6 cage. So this cage would have only the option, it couldn't be 9-1, it couldn't be 6, because it can't have a 6 in it. So it has to be 7-2-1, which it can't be, because it can't have a 1 in it. So the point, I think, is that that's got to go vertical. It must not touch this 10 cage. And that means that these are not 6s by the power of sudoku. And it means that this cage now it must have I want to say it must have a 1 in it, because if it's 7-3 you can't put the 3 anywhere, so it's not that. So it must be either 7-2-1 or just 9-1. But which of those is correct is the next question. So I think there's a 1 in one of these two cells. Oh no, the 1 could go... Oh, hang on. If it's 7, 2, 1, the 2 can't go here, can it? So the 2 would have to go there. So it would this still is always a 1. This is always a 1. And it's either 9, 1, or it's 7, 1, 2, very specifically, I think. Can we do better than that somehow? Is this affecting this? So this cell is part of a 7 cage. We know those two are connected with each other, so why don't I connect those up? These are definitely connected. So I can't use this 1 in this 7 clue. But this 7 clue could just be a 7 on its own. Maybe that's the point. I don't know. What am I meant to look at next? So this is a cage, isn't it? That is a cage. We've done this. This cage. Oh, that looks horrible. Actually, I might have broken the puzzle here. How on earth am I going to fill this? Because this is seeing 2, 3 and a 1, 4 pair in the cage it's next to, and it's seeing 7, so it can't be a 3-cell cage because it's going to repeat the 1, 2 and 4. It can't be a 1-cell cage because it already sees 7, so it's got to be a 2-cell cage, but this digit cannot be. So this has to be a high digit. That's got to be a 5 or a 6. And it can't have a 1 in it, so it's not 6. So that has to be 5. Oh, I can do that. I can put a 2 underneath it. That's the only place the 2 can go. That is a relief. I thought I'd broken it then. So this is... running out of colours here. This is a 2-cell cage, a 5-2 cage. That means that 2 is in one of those cells. That is beautiful for this cell, because that can't be a 2 anymore. So that is not a 7 anymore. So that's a 9. And that means 2 has to be up here by Sudoku. Just using these 2's together. And what now? What other mysteries have you hidden away in your arcane masterpiece, Phistomefel? What have you done next? And where am I meant to look? Where am I now? Where is the puzzle pointing me to look? It is suggesting I should look probably at that now, which can't share digits with a 2-5 cage. Ah, yes. Right, I know things about this 33 cage. Because 33 plus 7 is 40. So that means that this 33 cage is missing a cell or a digit or digits summing to 5 in addition to this 2, 5. Well, it can't be missing a 5 because it's already missing a 5. And it can't be missing a 2, 3 because it's already missing a 2. So it must be missing a 1 and a 4 as well as missing a 2 and a 5. Which means that we now know the composition of this cage. It must be the other digits, which are 3, 6, 7, 8 and 9. And that does add to 33. And in fact, that is not a 3 by Sudoku. And this is a 5-cell cage. Oh, this is so gorgeous. This is just ridiculously gorgeous. Right. This is why there is a question mark in the grid, I'm going to allege. Because the question we need to ask is, where does the 33 cage get its 3 from? And it's a 5-cell cage, remember, so it can never come this far across the grid. It can get to here, but all of these cells have 2 3s looking at them. So there's no possibility of picking up a vitamin. We can't pick up the 3, we can't take the 3 from here, because if we connect this as in a cage, we're connecting the 40 cage with the 33 cage, and there are definitely going to be some common digits between those, and that's not allowed in the puzzle. So we can't pick up blues and oranges to make our total. So we have to get our 3 from somewhere, and I think the only place we can get it from is here. Now we can't get it from here because this is part of another cage. So this is a 3 and is the same as the region. So this little region here is all the same thing. Which means this square is a 6, 7, 8 or 9. Now, okay, so the next question we need to ask ourselves is, where does this go after this? It's a 5-cell cage. Well, hang on, let me think about this for a second. I know this digit is a digit that is not allowed to be in the 33 cage. So it's not 3, 6, 7, 8 or 9, and it can't be 2, 5 by sudoku. So it's a 1 or a 4, I think, which gives me a pair in column 9. So this is a 1 or a 4. Oh, right, no, right. This is just more beauty from the great man. Is this cell yellow? And the answer is no, it's not yellow, because this cell sees a 3 in one of those 2 cells. One of these 2 cells is a 3, I don't know which one, but if we made this yellow, this cage would connect orthogonally with a cell that was a 3, and it can't, it's already got a 3 in its cage. So this square is a 1 or a 4 as well. It must be a digit that's not in the 33 cage and not a 2 or a 5. So there is now a 1, 4 pair. This is a 1 in this row, that's a 4, this is a 1, this is a 1, this is a 4. These squares have got to be from 6, 7, 8 and 9. And they are, okay, so these digits are the ones that are in this 33 cage that are not in this box. This digit is in the 33 cage, because if it wasn't, the only way this 33 cage could exist is going like that, and one of these is a 3, so that would break the puzzle. So this is yellow, which means this is a 6, 7, 8 or 9. This digit is the same as one of those. 1 has to be up here by sudoku. 4 has to be up here by sudoku. 3 has to be in one of those 2 squares by sudoku. This digit now looks problematic, because it sees 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5 in the row, so that's got to be a 6 or a 7, and it can't be it can't be a 6, because where's it going to get a 1 from? It can't get this 1, and so it can't get a 1 from any of those 3 simply because of this 1, so that's a 7 on its own, and that is a lone 7. Oh, actually I've just had a horrible thought. Do I need to know how big this cage is? Because this cage here... Oh no, it's beautiful. No, I was about to say, how was I going to know the size of this cage in the corner? But I do know the size of it, actually, because if it grew even by 1, if it was those 2, we know this digit is in the 33 cage, because it's a 6, 7, 8 or 9. I'd be connecting them. So it's not. So there is a tiny 1 cage in the corner. I don't know why, that feels very, very lovely to me, that this is a 1 cage in the corner. Right, what do we need? We need 6s, 8s and 9s along here. We need... That's not a 6 by sudoku. We need to do sudoku if we possibly can. What do we need in this box? We need 4, 7 and 8 into these squares. That's not 7. So perhaps we have to look up here now. What's this 13 cage doing? So the 13 cage sees... It sees a 1 and a 6 for sure. Right. No, actually that's wrong. I was about to say it can't take this cell, but I think it can actually. If these two are in the same cage together. Oh no, maybe it can't. No, I might be wrong. I might be countermanding myself twice in a row. Right, how could these be in the 13 cage? Well, obviously there's no combination here that adds to 13, so we'd have to take another digit. But any combination here means we're taking exactly 1 more digit. So this is either a 4-8 or a 4-7 pair, which means this square needs to be a 1 or a 2, and it can't actually be either because this is a 2-3 pair. So I think this is not in the 13 cage, which means the 13 cage is at least those 2 cells. But who knows? I mean, a 13 cage in theory could have a lot of digits in it. It could have as many as 4 digits in it. Although, no, actually no, it sees a 1, doesn't it? So it can't, no, hang on. So it can't have 4 digits in it if it can't have a 1 in it. Because 2, 3, 4, 5 add up to 14. So it's either got 2 or 3 cells in it. It's quite difficult for it to have 2s and 3s in it, but I don't think it's impossible. That digit could, I think, be a 2 or a 3. There's probably a reason that's not possible, but I can't see what it is. 1 must be in one of those 3 cells. Okay, let's resort to sudoku if we absolutely have to. Right, okay, well let's look at the 25 and the 18 then. Oh yeah, no, actually, even figuring out this is a domino is quite interesting, look, because the 25 now can't duck down here. So the 25, which must be at least 4 cells, because 7, 8 and 9 only add up to 24, must come it must take those 3 digits at least. So that's quite interesting. So the 18... which I'm going to have to select, I'll make that grey. Look, these greys aren't going to meet. So the 18, so the 18 can't share any digits with the 25. Ah, right, that's it. That's fascinating, actually. Because these 2 cages together add up to 43. So the digit that they are missing is a 2. Oh, this is so clever. Right, okay. Yes, no, it is so clever. Okay, so we know that we cannot put a 2 in the 25 or the 18 cage. And that's because that would suggest that the digits missing from the cages would be 2 1s, which is silly. So there's no 2 in these cages. They share They don't have any shared digit in common. This cage is adding to 25. This is adding to 18. That gets us to 43. We know all the digits sum to 45. So the only way we can be missing digit or digits from there is if we're missing a solitary 2. Now, where does that 2 go in box 1? It can't be there. It can't be here by Sudoku. And we've just said it's not in the 25 or the 18 cage, so it goes there. But that... this is really lovely, actually. So now, that 2 is not caged. And that is because we know it's not in the 18 cage. We know it's not in the 25 cage. If it was in the 13 cage, then we could have no digits in common between a 25 and 18 and a 13 cage, which add up to 55. But all the Sudoku digits added up only add up to 45. So that would imply there was some mystery digit that we'd managed to include in these cages. And there is no mystery digit. So that cannot be read. And that means the 13 cage now doesn't have a 2 in it, or a 1, or a 3. Where's it going to get a 3 from? It can't get a 3 because there's 3 looking at it. So there's... Right. So if the 13 cage cannot have a 1, 2 or a 3 in it, it can't be a 3-cell cage. Because if it was, 4, 5 and 6 would be the minimum to make up that cage, and 4, 5 and 6 add up to 15. So this is a 2-cell cage, which means this digit is not a 4 because it would have a 9 above it. So this is either 6 or 5. And it's not 6 because there's a 6 already looking at the 13 cage. These touch each other. So it's 5. So that's 5. That's 8. That's 4. That's 7. This is a 6-8 pair in the middle. This is just wonderful. It's ridiculously clever, as always. But it is wonderful too, isn't it? The logic is just beautiful. So now this column needs what? It needs 3, 6 and 7. Oh, I see. 7 goes in the top of the grid. So that's a 7, that's a 3, that's a 6, that's a 2 by Sudoku. And all of a sudden, no, I'm not going to say we're cooking with gas. I didn't say it. I didn't. But it did feel momentarily like we were doing something useful. Okay. So where do we look now? We put 5 in this box by Sudoku. So we need 4, 8 and 9 into these positions. Bother. Okay, that doesn't seem to resolve anything. Okay. Right. 3 is quite restricted in this box, look. 3's got to be in one of those 2 cells, which I can't really see around the 18 clue, but we'll just have to bear that in mind. Ooh. Okay, let's keep doing Sudoku here because I can place the 2 up here, I've just noticed. I can place the 3 up here, I've just noticed. I can place the 3 up here, I've just noticed. I can place the... I can nearly place a 5. 5's in one of 2 places. 5's in one of 2 places. 8 is placed in box 6 by Sudoku. There's no 8 in these. So there is an 8 now in one of those 2 cells, which means this cell is not an 8 because it's in the same cage. Where does 5 go in column 9? It's not there, so that seems to have to be a 5. So this square is 6, 7 or 9. These two squares are 6 and 9. Oh, no, that's useful. So this is a 1, this is a 6. Now I must know what these two digits are, 4 and 7. These digits are therefore 1, 5 and 9. But nothing, I know virtually nothing about these columns, do we? There is almost nothing to... In fact, how are we going to disambiguate the 2s and 3s around the centre? Oh, I see how it's going to happen. Right, either one of these cages will have a 2... Well, actually, these don't have 2 in. So, right, what's going to happen is either this cage with a 3 in it or this cage with a 3 in it is going to touch probably this one or this one. And that's going to trickle round and affect the ring. That's how that's going to happen. Okay, so that's what we've got to look out for. So maybe this digit has to be yellow. Why can't that be yellow? If that was yellow, we would know that this would be a 5. That seems absolutely fine. Okay. Right, let's do some more thinking up here then. We've got... Oh yeah, in fact, look, this column, we've got a lot of information in. Those cells have got to be 4, 8, and 9. So, we've got 10 so far in this 25 cage. So this 25 cage needs another 15 in it. So it's definitely got to grow. This 18 cage, blimey, how on earth am I meant to get a handle on this? We know it's not got a 2 in it. If it took that cell, it wouldn't have a 1 in it or a 3 in it either, or a 5 in it. Okay, that might be problematic. So if this took this cell, let me just think about this. This cage would now touch a cage with a 3 in it, a digit with a 2 in it, or a cell with a 2 in it, a cage with a 5 in it, a cage with a 1 and a 6 in it. So it couldn't have 1, 2, 3, 5 or 6. It would have to be 4, 7. 4, 7 and 8 is too many. 4, 7 and 8 is 19. So it's impossible. It's impossible. Right. So that's great. That means this cell is not grey. So that means this is grey. And that's yes, and that means that green has to extend, because green is needs at least 2 more cells from after it's got its 10. So it comes to here. Now we've got 6 cells in orange and grey, and we need overall to get, we must get 8 cells because we're only missing a 2. So there are 2 more cells to find in this little thingy thing. There are 2 more cells to find. Okay, here is a thought that is a bit crazy, but I think is true. We've got to be very careful about how we end these cages. By which I mean, I'm just going to check whether I think this is true or not. I'm going to allege that this is not green. And that is because if this was green, it doesn't matter what grey now does. The puzzle is broken, I think, because if grey took this cell, what's this cell going to be? It's not allowed to be a digit that's in the green. It's not allowed to be a digit that's in the grey, and it definitely can't be a 2, so it could be no digit. That doesn't work. And if the grey came here, this cell has a problem, because this cell needs to be not grey, not green, and not 2, which is nothing. That doesn't work. So I don't think that. I think green stops here. Let's use the pen tool, which I've so far neglected rather embarrassingly. So the question is whether this pops down here or not. The answer to that is I don't know. Right, but we can keep going with this logic. Right, next question, is this grey? Now if this is not grey, what would happen in the puzzle? Well, we know that we've got to make green and grey take 8 cells, and the only way of doing that now is for these 2 cells to both be grey, because grey must be at least 3 cells, so it definitely takes this one. We haven't taken 8 cells unless we take this one. But if we do that, this digit has to be a nothing again, because it can't be green, it can't be grey, and it can't be 2. So that doesn't work either. So that means that we can come back here and greyify this digit. And now we've got to avoid... Well, we need one more digit, don't we? So it's this one. But what we don't know we don't know if that's green or grey, but it's the last digit in this little arrangement of 8 cells. Ah, no, that doesn't work. I was thinking this could be the way we disambiguate this digit, but unfortunately, I don't think. If this was green, this would be 2. This would be 3. And that would disambiguate these. These 3 would have to add up to 18. So 189 might... would 189 work? It might do, actually. So... and then those 3 digits would have to add up to 15. Ah, there's got to be, right, there's got to be a 5. Yes, there's got to be a 5 in our green-grey region, because the only digit missing from it is 2, and therefore there's a 5 in one of those 2 cells. Which means that cell is not 5, this cell is 5. Which means 5 in the middle box gets placed. Which means that we can... there's no... Right, so there's no... Right, there's no 5 in yellow down here. This is a 6, 7, 8, 9, 3 combo. So this is the yellow, our last yellow digit. Oh, this is gorgeous. Right, we've done it. Now, this cage has a 3 in it, and it's touching orange. So orange cannot be a 3. Orange is 2. Oh, orange is 2. Blue is therefore 3. Oh, this is so gorgeous. Now this you know what I mean. It does something to this. This now cannot be green because green has a 3 in it, and it would be touching a cell with a 3 in it. So that is grey. That's our 8 cells. Look, so that's done. So we can actually ring these like this. I probably actually ought to do this throughout the puzzle, shouldn't I? Just so that we've got a clear record of what we're doing. Let's quickly zoom round. In fact, have I got all of the Have I got all the cages built now? I might do. I'm going to just check that in a second once I've finished doing this. Dum 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 dum. Yeah, I think I have. I think I have anyway. I can't see any other clues that we've not used yet. I mean, obviously I've not filled these in, but that's quite exciting. So now it ought to just be Sudoku of all things. Oh, in fact, yeah, look, what are these two digits? They have to add up to 15, and they're not including a 7, so that's a 6-9 pair, which very annoyingly is not done, but it is a 6-9 pair. Bother. Oh, okay, but that being a 6-9 pair means that's the 5, which means that's a 5, apparently. Oh, I seem to have 1s being quite interesting. Look, we need to put a 1 in the top row. It's got to go in one of those two cells, which, no, okay, that's not helpful. Okay, let's see what we can do with this then. Can we actually work this out? We know that there's a 5 in here, so these are adding up to 13. So if this is a 9, this is a 1-3 pair, so that is not a 9. If this is an 8, this could be a 1-4 pair though. What's wrong with that? Nothing, I don't think. That might be able to be a 1-4 pair. It's probably touching a cage or something that says it's not allowed to be. And if this is a 4, we've got 9 here and a 1. Oh, so I see. So this is 1-4. This is a 1-4-8 triple. That's the point. Which means this square is a 9. Which means this square is an 8. Which means this is 4-9. Which means that that's got to be the 4. Which means this is 1-8, which means this is 6, this is 9, this is 9, this is 1. This is 1 by Sudoku, look. Which means this is 1 by Sudoku, which means that, I don't know, it's pushing 9 into this box. Which means these two can't be 9, because 9 would then repeat. It means 9 is in one of these two cells by Sudoku, which means that this square is not a 9. This square is not an 8, look, it sees that one. And, oh, in fact, that square's a 6 by Sudoku now, that's good. So that's a 9. And we might be, well, we're in a better position than we were 5 minutes ago. It's a very long video again. I'm so sorry if I'm taking too much of your time. Well, I'm a bit sorry. I'm not very sorry because I just think when you see the name Phistomefel, this puzzle clearly deserves to be on Cracking the Cryptic. What is Cracking the Cryptic for? Unless it's to show puzzles of this, you know, the sheer brilliance that we're getting to do today. Now this digit has to be 6, 7, 8 or 9. I was expecting to be able to restrict that a bit. I suppose it's not 6, so it's 7, 8 or 9. Oh yeah, no, this is good. Okay, look at this box. Where's 8 in the box? And the answer is in this domino, so it's not over here. And that seems to give us a 7-9 pair, which means that this is not 7 or 9. So this is an 8. This is therefore a 6. We need a 6 in this cage. So that's a 7. That's a 6. That's a 6 by Sudoku. That's a 9 using this 6. And suddenly, right, these digits have got to be 1 and 7. Somehow is not done. These digits have got to be 4, 8 and 9, which means we can place the 9 in that string. 4, 7, 8. Okay. Now, well, look at these digits. These digits have got to be 4 and 8. We can do that. I'm sorry to sound surprised, but I was mildly. So that gets us a 9 and a 7 here. So this is now 7, this is 4. This is 8 at the top, this is 4, this is 8. Great. Now, these squares have got to be 4, 6 and 7. And that's a 7, 7, 1, 1, 8, 6. And I want to say 4 and 6 and 8. And it's not impossible. This is the correct solution to the puzzle. Yay! Wow. Wow, that was monstrous. Absolutely monstrously hard. And very interesting. My goodness, what was going on with this 40 kg? Well, I think though, this was the start, wasn't it? Because how on earth would we have made any progress? It was still very difficult to make progress, even once you knew that these orange and blues added up to 5. It still was not it wasn't a quick process for me, at least, to work out how these 757 triples went. But I love the start. The start is so meta and clever. It's just nonsensically brilliant. But then I really like this, actually, and the way that this stopped this being a 1-4 pair. That was really cute. And the way this then did double duty, because it worked well with the 7 cage by forcing the 7 cage up. And then there was a lovely question mark trick in the bottom where you couldn't run this through the question mark, so it placed the 3 in this box. I mean, there's all sorts of magic going on. And then, I like this stuff at the top as well, about finding you couldn't have digits at corners of these 2 cages, because they could never actually then be a Sudoku digit. I mean, there's just sort of 8 or 9 moments in a puzzle like this where you just go, yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, oh, that's brilliant as well. Fantastic as always. Thank you, Phistomefel, and thank you for watching. We'll be back later with another edition of Cracking the Cryptic.